This podcast is brought to you by Marty Macarena. So you've already got ants. That's fine. I'm sure they're great. But wouldn't you also love an extra one? One who's quirky and caring, with a keenly caffeinated character. One who you know would adopt you if you were ever in need of a home, and who you've always kind of halfway hoped might try to do so regardless. One who lives to love, and who laughs like she means it, and who means it when she smiles. Yes, you would love an ant like that. Like Marty Macarena, that is. So stock up now. Demand has never been higher. Marty Macarena, the ant you've always wished you had. Blood relations not included. Welcome to Little, Middle, and Biggle. I'm your middle brother, Joshua.
I'm your little brother, Andrew.
And I'm your biggle brother, Noah.
And today we are here. I don't even remember how this podcast starts. We're the ones
to answer
who
the
will...
little, middle, and biggle questions of your life.
Nice. Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you coming in clutch for me there. We are FaceTiming this time for the first time ever in the recording of Little Middle Biggle, and I had my phone propped up in front of my little Google Doc that has the cheat sheet for me. So, yeah, that was embarrassing. Oops. Anyway, I get to start us off today with a little question. And, as an aside, I have made the pact to not mention the words medical school for a single time this podcast. And if I do, I'm going to edit it out, and it's going to be really sloppy. So apologies there. Anyway.
You have to edit it with something. It's got to be replaced with something ridiculous.
Like what?
Like an ostrich.
And like an ostrich noise? Or me saying, an ostrich?
Either.
Now that I've been at an ostrich for 6 months now. Yeah, okay, that works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so, little question. Me. What are your fun facts? What's a fun fact about you? Because this is a little question that gets asked all the time, and I feel like we should practice because it is a hard one to answer.
The first thing that came to mind was I gave blood today, but that's also just something I wanted to tell you guys. And also, if I was asked that question in 2 months, I wouldn't want to be like, fun fact, 2 months ago, I gave blood.
Yeah, I was thinking more about like whenever you're getting introduced to a group of new people, like you're all sitting around in a circle.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, tell us your name and where you went to school and a fun fact about yourself.
I understood your question. That was just my knee-jerk response.
Gotcha.
I'm descending into hippie nihilism.
Wow. I feel like you are already wanting to get to the big old question here. But
oh, no.
Okay. Also, how do you follow that up? Like, what's the reaction you expect to get from people?
I mean, that's the point at which you just expect the situation. Like, everybody looks at each other and they're like, okay, next person.
See, okay, for me, whenever I have one of these, like, what's a fun fact about yourself moments or situations, I always try and give something, like, really distinct, a little quirky, but also kind of cool. So that, because I know that, like, for me, whenever there are other people who do that really helps me to, like, peg their name on them. So I can, remember it in the future. And I feel like so much of the world's suffering is just not remembering people's names that if I can do my part to alleviate that, I will.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
So do you have a different one, Andrew?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Noah, do you have one while I think for a second?
Oh, man. I don't think I've ever had a good answer to
Oh,
this.
my gosh. I just knocked my microphone over.
Great. I don't even need to write that down because I'm sure I will see it in the waveform. Okay, so Noah, I have had the same problem where it's just like every time someone asks that, you're just like, duh. So I have started making a running list of the things. And so my top 3 at the moment are 1, I only have 1 sublingual salivary gland. 2,
that's a great one.
Yeah. 2 is I'm a 2-time hair donor. 3 is I'm certified to teach English in other countries. So those are my solid ones. And then people can be like, "Oh, you're the guy with only one salivary gland." I can be like,
salivary gland, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, that's me. And that's such a nice segue, an icebreaker into the conversation. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent.
See, also, I can...
Are you growing your hair out again right now?
Can you not tell?
Well, I mean, I figured as much. So does that mean, like, I mean, at this point, you're not just a 2-time hair donor, you're a serial hair donor.
Yeah, I will be. I don't want to claim that title yet. But
that's fair.
I'm the only guy in The Ostrich who has hair longer than like an inch and a half. So,
nice. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, fun facts for you guys.
Man, see, that's such a great idea to come up with some, because it's one of those things that as soon as someone asks you, you are least likely to have a good answer at that exact moment. You know?
Mm-hmm. And then you end up saying something like, I'm descending into hippie nihilism.
I think it doesn't help that these questions are always brought up in like the most mundane situations. It's like first day of class, or like, I don't know, at a Bible study, because we all go to so many Bible studies. That was the only other thing that came to mind. Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
I actually got invited to a Bible study this week. I did not go.
Did you go? Yeah. See?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Okay, so real answer, though.
In like 6 months, I can say I have a pilot's license right now. I can say I'm learning to fly planes.
That's a great one. That's like that's an excellent, interesting fact. There's plenty of questions to follow up with it, and it's something that people can remember you by.
Well, but the problem with it is that they're always like, so wait, like, when was the last time you flew? And I'm like, oh, like almost a year ago. And they're like, why? And then I have to explain like antidepressants to them, which I'm comfortable with, but I know a lot of people aren't. So I feel like it has some fallbacks or setbacks.
On one hand, if everyone's going around just mentioning interesting facts, then usually it won't go that detailed anyways. But that's also true. Just discussing things like antidepressants or anything, literally anything psych-related ever, is a good thing for our society.
Yeah, decrease the stigma.
Yeah.
Future psychiatrists unite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just I have the 2020 mindset still of like, I'm not going to be in a situation where there are enough people where you just like go around one by one. Like every time I've been asked that question in the past long period of time it is like, elaborate on it. Because this year is...
Yeah. Well, they might not ask when's the last time you've flown. It might be, what have you flown? Or why are you flying? Or do you want to become a commercial air pilot? Or, I mean, anytime I tell anyone that, my little brother is getting his pilot's license, they usually, like, the first thing they ask is, oh, is, like, he going to be a commercial pilot? Or is he just going to fly smaller planes? Mm-hmm. Or both. So.
Well, thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, no problem.
Also, you were looking for the word drawback, not setback or... Yeah.
Or fallback.
Yeah.
Drawback.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Sure, anytime.
That had been bugging me. Wanted to clear that up. Okay, Noah, so what are your cool facts? Because I can think of one immediately, two after not too much thought.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip this question slightly and request what are interesting facts. Actually, okay, here. I'll come up with one on my own, but then I think we should each come up with an interesting fact about the other person, because that would be way easier.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
I feel like I spend a lot more time telling an interesting fact about someone else than I do like, hey, what's an interesting fact about you? Because like I'll be talking about someone else, you know? Like it's easy to be like, oh yeah, you know, my brother who does this, or my friend who does this, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyways, one interesting fact about me. I once was paid money to digitally sculpt a pair of buttocks with a large anus hole, out of which air freshener was to spray.
That is wonderful.
That is
also,
wonderful.
You kind of stole one of my things that I was going to say about you, because I was going to say digital sculptor.
Such a great term.
Yeah. Okay, so one that I would add to your repertoire is that you have gone hiking through the mountains in Barcelona, namely with me.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. Also that you're a hair donor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So for Andrew, oh man, there are many things I can think of from your childhood, but some of them are kind of embarrassing. I would say
perfect. What are those?
Well, I was thinking like you have put in probably over 1,000 hours in Minecraft.
Way more than 1,000.
Yeah. 1,000. That's like a full-time job for 6 months. That's nothing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was thinking, 12 hours a day for 8 months, which I think was about how long your real hardcore Minecraft stint went.
See, I don't know if it was 12 hours a day, because, like, I would have to be in school and stuff. But it was definitely, like, there were times where it was definitely at least 2 a day, even on school days,
There were definitely days also during the summer when it was 12 hours a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, over 1,000 hours. Anyway, I say for the second time in 3 seconds, your next fun fact, and this one is one that I've used in the past and everyone's like, oh, that's kind of interesting, is you were in show choir as a high schooler. And, there are very few people who are like in show choir, and you and I feel like we didn't really think about it because it was just what you did when you were, when you felt like you were a little bit, I don't know, above, or when you had gotten tired with the regular choir, you're just like, yeah, I guess I'll just audition for the show choir now, and then you became part of that core group of the small subset of people who did choir. Yeah.
Yeah,
I never would have thought about that.
Yep.
Yeah, see, it's so hard to think of them about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your guys' turn. Do them for each other.
Okay.
Jinx.
You or me first? Well, it wasn't Jinx for
Okay, I'll go first because I always go last.
Okay.
I always put it off and wait for you guys to come up with good answers. So my go-tos are usually that Andrew, you fly planes or getting your pilot's license, and Joshua, that you are a writer and have a blog, plug, and
Okay, it occurred to me, I don't think I've ever actually said the name of my website on the podcast. So just to clear things up for everyone, joshuabeggs.com. That's joshuabeggs.com, JOSHUABEGGS.com. Who I really had to think there to make sure I knew how to spell my name. Yes.
Original creative writing every other Thursday.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yep. Okay, Andrew, your turn.
Noah, were you done?
I mean, there are other ones I'm sure I could do too. I could do the podcast.
That's
say
true.
that, like, oh, interesting fact about both of them is that we do a podcast together.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but every single friend maybe it's just like my specific, very small, like, group of years generation, but everyone I tell that we have a podcast, they're like, cool.
Wow.
And I'm like, come on, this is so exciting. You know, something that I think is very interesting about both of you guys that you could say, and it would tell a lot to anyone who's asking a fun fact about you, is that you own Subaru Crosstreks.
You know, I don't know if that's like a major fun fact, although we did have a conversation like in my like one of my Snapchat group chats, because yes, I'm of that very small like chunk of a piece of a generation that like regularly uses Snapchat.
I'm there with you. So
yeah, I mean, everyone talks about how like no one uses it, and like the majority of people that I socialize with all use Snapchat, which is just really strange. But
who tells you don't use it? Or they don't use it?
Like, I feel like I've just read that in a lot of places. Also,
like from people from your generation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I could totally be misinterpreting that, and it's more widely used than I thought. Anyways,
I've just thought of a fun fact for myself.
Perfect.
I have never played any Call of Duty game.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
Nice.
And
neither have I.
Yeah,
I guess.
Now that I say it out loud, it's not that exciting. But like, that's one of those things that almost everyone has done that I have not done.
Yeah. Depending on the group,
on
that
the group
could be
of
a
people.
very, conversation sparking one. Because if everyone's like, oh yeah, you haven't played Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, continue. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh, just this is now way down the tangent line, but we were speaking about Subarus. Actually, we were speaking about different car horns and how it's difficult to make a like polite honk with the car horn, but with the Subaru, no matter what you do, every honk sounds like an apology.
That's very true.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so fun fact that we could all say, none of us have ever had Twitters.
True.
That is not entirely true, because I think I did make a Twitter account back in like 2014 and then never used it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think one of my college friends, Joe, was like big into Twitter, or at least somewhat into Twitter briefly, and was like, yeah, you got to make a Twitter account. And so like I made one with him, and then I immediately forgot the password and never used it. So
nice. So it's just out there collecting cyber dust.
yeah.
Great.
Somewhere out there,
Along with
someone
my
is frustrated
Tumblr
that
blog.
can't use my name. Yeah.
Another fun fact for all of us is that we only have 2 degrees of separation from the entire Harry Potter cast.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is this because of the Kelly knows Emma Watson thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Or
knows someone that
Kelly's-
knows Kelly Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly Watson.
Kelly Watson. Emma, whatever. Yeah.
Emma Herman and Kelly Watson.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd say that's good for the little question. We learned a lot about each other. or I guess we didn't really learn anything at all, but we informed the world.
It was just a big old mess of random tangents.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, but before we get to Noah's middle question, I have to just pause. Oh, zipper.
Sweet.
I love the sound of a clean zipper. Oh, yeah. Okay. Did you know that all the zipper pulls practically in the world, you know how they all have YKK at the bottom?
I was just about to mention this, and I was like, I'm sure we've talked about this before.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Not on the podcast, but yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Just Google YKK. Listeners,
I'm looking at my zippers right now.
Sure, mine has a YKK.
I cannot remember the last time in my life I have worn more than one article of clothing with zippers on it. Because it's always exclusively my jacket. Because, you know, I'm an athletic shorts all year round type of guy. Because I'm classy. Okay, Noah. Middle question.
Okay. When you guys... Okay, well, now I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. What, if you're looking for reliable information... for whatever reason, or considering the reliability of a source, what is your favorite source to go to and why?
Wikipedia.
Wow. I mean, okay, it depends on the size and popularity of the topic. Because if it is a big topic that is really popular, I will so just go to Wikipedia. Because, like, that gets enough eyes on it regularly that if someone tries to screw with it, it will either A, be caught by the algorithms, or B, someone will be like, oh, come on, people. Mm-hmm. And they'll fix it.
Yeah, they have a pretty good reputation.
Yeah. But if it's like something to do with the ostrich, I will go to UpToDate, which Noah, you know what UpToDate is.
Yep.
Because that's like all doctors who put that like literature review stuff in there and everything. Yeah. And then for information on like words and stuff, I use powerthesaurus.com because
nice.
Yeah. And I don't really do a whole lot of researching besides that. So
nice.
Yeah. What about you, Noah?
If it is medically related, UpToDate is definitely my go-to. If it's something that I want to do more of a deep dive on, I will sometimes follow some of the reference links in UpToDate and go to like the original, primary sources. And yeah, if I'm looking for like something 3D graphics related, digital sculpting related, then I don't really know if I have a good source. I was just thinking about that while I was asking the question. I don't know what the good source to go to is, Like Wikipedia has some good information sometimes, but like a lot of times it's just, going to some sort of like math education website or, YouTube. I'm sure there are better resources out there, but I don't know what they are. And then if I want to look up any sort of good creative writing samples, I go to joshuabiggs.com. That's joshuabiggs.com.
Yeah.
Oh, spell it out for him. Spell it out for him.
Every other Thursday.
Great. Okay. I have an addendum to my answer, which is if it's anything opinion related, I type in like top 10 fiction conferences or something, and then I will type in after that Reddit. And it is wonderful because there's a Reddit thread on like the best and the worst of pretty much anything. Like I've done it for protein bars. I've done it for science fiction books. I've done it for cities to live in. Things like that. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And because there is the upvoting, downvoting system, and like the more popular threads also are the ones that get the most page views and are thus the ones that are more likely to show up with a Google search. Works like a charm.
Yeah, I have to admit,
Yeah.
I end up looking on Reddit for random things as well. Like, if it's something that there's not it doesn't need to be an important source so much, just like, I want to know what random people are thinking about this,
Yeah.
or like directions on how to do something lightly computer related without them trying to sell me anything. Yeah. Anyways, Andrew, what do you
Andrew, you look J for judgmental. What are you thinking?
I'm not judgmental. I think I'm just very tired. They like took 2 things of blood or something because I have blood that they wanted. So I'm feeling like I still just woke up about 10 minutes ago, even though I woke up at like 9:30. So that's why I look J for judgmental. Well, for medical topics, I go to my big brothers. For social topics, I go to mom. Yeah. No, I don't have that much experience with research. We did like 2 research papers my senior year of high school, and I would imagine those weren't real research papers.
What about aviation topics?
Or I was thinking like news.
Noah, what did you say?
Aviation topics.
Oh, I mean, YouTube. You know what I really like? Well, okay, if time did not exist and we were immortal beings, what I really would love to do is just always read a book about something that I want to research. Because, like, we did that, and it wasn't to research, it was to learn about it, but, like, for a couple of my classes this semester, and I really love the amount of grasp I have on all the information. Like, no matter what the topic was.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, Google Scholar. I like Google Scholar.
I have been known to troll the PubMed for almost exclusively nutrition-related topics, slightly embarrassingly. But yeah, it is really interesting to get into the weeds and find out that people have done like these crazy specific research questions.
Oh yeah. Sometimes it's hard to find the more general stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I was just yesterday looking on the effect of potassium consumption on bone density, and somebody's done that, which is just really crazy. Yeah. Anyway.
So I only just recently found out that blood is made in bones. What?
Yeah. But also, some of it is made in your thymus. The white blood cells, the T cells specifically, are in the thymus. So,
what is your thymus?
That is an immunological organ that, as far as I know, Noah, correct me if I'm wrong, you've had a lot more immunology, but it's pretty much its only function is making T cells and making sure that the T cells don't kill you. Because they could do that if things go wrong.
I'm sure it probably does other things, and there are probably things that we don't know that it does. But also, interestingly, for adults, especially older adults, it's pretty much just fat.
Yeah, it shrivels up the older you get.
Much like the rest of adults.
Yep. Oh man, we had a lecture in the Ostrich this week about how the total body water percentage of people goes down with age, and it's like you start off when you're an infant, you're like 85% water, or like a neonate, I should say. And then by the time you are old, you're like 50% water. So all the rest of that is just like sludge. Yeah.
I've been reading Dune by Frank Herbert, and they talk about like the residents of Dune, the desert planet, talk about the people off-world being, oh, well, you guys have read Dune. I don't know why I'm explaining it. Being like so water fat, you know?
Yeah.
Thought that was kind of funny.
You know, that book was the winner of the first ever Hugo Award. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the Hugo Award?
It's for like really innovative science fiction fantasy.
Cool.
Yeah. Like the Broken Earth trilogy, if you've ever heard of that, by N.K. Jemisin. All 3 books won Hugo Awards, which is like never happened before, and everyone was like, whoa. But anyway, yeah.
Sweet.
Yep. Anyway, big ol' question, Andrew.
Here,
what is it?
Big old
Pause,
question.
pause for just a second so I can plug my computer in before we have a really bad day.
Okay. I'll just leave it running, you know. The best things happen in the in-between.
The best things happen in the in-between. I like that.
Thanks. I'm a writer sometimes.
Anyways, big ol' question. So, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and my jury is still out, so I'm just gonna kind of present my thinking and then shoot the breeze with you guys. Can there be an absolute good without a god? Like, can an objective good, is what I should say, without a god?
From whose perspective? Are we talking only human?
Yeah.
Or...
I'm saying only human. Or, well,
okay.
Maybe from all life, because this is my thinking, is... And this is, like, yes, there can be without a god, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Because, I mean, I do believe that there is a god. But, like, if you take, like, the negative entropy theory of life, negative entropy would be good and positive entropy would be bad. So, like, everything, like, we are programmed to go for negative entropy, like self-preservation and stuff, towards negative entropy. And then, like, killing someone or killing ourselves or hurting someone would contribute to positive entropy. So it is, like, a bad thing. And it would be semi-objectively bad and could be scaled to the universe.
So if...
At least in my thinking.
Okay. So here's my thought. If we're going by the entropy theory, is me having a messy room evil?
I don't see that as... I mean, I'm talking entropy.
Really not a messy room. A messy car is the big issue, but...
And every time you unclog a toilet, you're just like bringing brightness into the world again.
Yeah.
Yes. But every time, yeah. You are righting your wrongs by unclogging that toilet. Or someone else's wrongs.
Okay, Andrew, this is a slight reimagining of your question, which I am perceiving might be what you're trying to ask, but if you're not, then just say it. But like, if there is no God, what do we use to judge our standards of absolute goods and absolute bads?
That could be a rephrasing, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it points toward the same...
You're 2 pints low on blood. It's okay. So, because you just immediately jumped to the standards being the positive entropy theory of life, and like making more entropy is bad, creating more order is good.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, when you were talking about absolute goods, the thing that first came to mind for me is, of course there is, it's just when you are nice to somebody for the sake of being nice, because it makes them happy, it makes you happy, depending on your personality. And in that sense, there is no sacrifice from either party, only net benefit.
Well, I mean, in a very insignificant level to us humans, but a level nonetheless. You are expending energy to be nice to someone. In which case, that would be contributing to the entropy. That would be positive entropy, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're like...
Well, I mean, it's a willing spending of energy. And also, I'm not so sure that, like, letting things fall into disorder, from my own personal philosophy, I'm not sure that's like a terrible, horrible, bad thing. I think that is the state of the universe in which we live, and to try and constantly rail against that is perhaps pointless on at least such a both minute and grand scale as you are thinking. I think that for, like, trying to preserve your own life and that of others, great. But, like, hoarding every ounce of energy that you have to ward off the impending doom that is your life, you know, I don't think that that is necessarily a good way to live at all.
I'm agreeing with that. I never did think that, like, I never really believed my entropy thing, but just a friend mentioned the can there be God, or can there be good without God thing, and entropy was like was what my mind went to as like an explanation. So, I don't know, I just wanted to present that to the court, to which it appears to have been somewhat disproved.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Noah? And Andrew, if you have a counter argument, I mean, that's
well,
what
I mean, no, I don't. Is the thing.
That's fair. I mean, it's actually, okay, so aside, before I even say anything about the question, it's a very healthy way to think of something, to be able to present an argument and just put it out on the table and be fully comfortable whether it is supported or not.
Thanks. I wish I could apply that to everything in my life.
Yeah.
Really, just everyone could apply that to everything in their life.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but it is much better to do so. Anyways, okay. So I think that, I guess the question itself kind of threw me for a loop, because I've never considered good and God to be like, what's the opposite of mutually exclusive? Like where two things have to be together?
Synonymous? Linked?
Mutually inclusive.
Mutually
intertwined,
but sort of intertwined. I don't know.
Mutually
like,
dependent.
I've never thought of it as like, you know, if I don't know. Ugh, golly, we're getting into such messy, like, philosophical waters here, and I didn't take a great books class this semester, so
Can I give it a crack?
Yeah.
And before you go, Joshua, I want to mention, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, God could be synonymous with bad, but it just gives us the perspective of good, you know? Like, it's not that...
Sure, I'll pretend that I know. Well,
it's not that God creates...
So basically what you're saying, like, that if God does have to exist for there to be good, that God is like a benchmark of sorts.
Yes.
And you're wondering whether without that potential benchmark we can have good.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, really it's just that I've never considered that to be the important benchmark. I've always just thought of good as like its own thing, you know, that could be, you know, depending on how you think of a God, could be like what a good God actually is, you know, in some ways just actual like good, or like, you know, a God of love or whatever, that is just that, you know. But I don't know. I've always kind of thought of good as like an independent thing. So I would say that totally that there can be good no matter what. And that it is certainly a difficult thing for us to fathom as puny human beings. That we have to think about. Well, I guess the difficult thing to fathom is what exactly good is, because if we look on it on a grander and grander scale, well, it's sometimes hard to think of in any specific situation what a good decision or good outcome is. But I think it's one of the most important things that we do is to figure out what is a good thing to do in any situation, what is inherently good, and how we do the most of it. So yeah, I don't know.
I think also a lot of the times when people think of God as like defining the good, it's not so much as like he or it or she, that this divinity figure actually makes a divine good. It's just that they say the ends justify the means for whatever it is you do. So they say like going out and proselytizing to people is an absolute good. It is the best good you can do because the reward is so infinitely high that even though it is causing suffering to you and the people that you're proselytizing to probably, and it's expending all of these resources, and you like devote a life that you could otherwise be enjoying doing it, you are doing quote unquote absolute good because I say so. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and so in that sense, maybe there are no absolute goods in any sense. It's just ones where the benefits, for one reason or another, are deemed so infinitely greater than the drawbacks that it's just, kind of ignored the drawbacks. It gets to like an infinitesimal sort of state.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
One quick thing. It's time for Silly Words with Joshua, the part of the show where Joshua comes out and tells us about a silly word that Noah does not understand. What is proselytizing?
Yeah, I was also
proselytizing.
Yeah,
proselytizing. It's like, oh, I'm trying to think of a way to say this that wouldn't offend some religious group or another. It's where you go out and make disciples of all nations. That was probably offensive, but sorry. But you go out and make disciples of all nations in like a forceful, let me fix you sort of way.
Like them Christians did.
Well, if we hadn't offended somebody already, there we go.
Well, I mean, if we're going to offend a religious group, might as well offend the Christians.
Why?
Everybody hates the Christians now.
I would like to make this known. I am not affiliated with this part of the podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by joshuabeggs.com. New original creative writing every Thursday.
That is not an official sponsorship.
Yeah, okay.
Please do not listen to the sub-host.
Well, I mean, all of the political groups are like unaffiliating themselves with Christians. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's very centralized on the United States, like different subsects, is that the right word? Of Islam have been fighting for a long time. And I think Hindu and Buddhism had some spats in the past. Not to mention, any number of Native American religions that would have, fought each other, that we would have used as an excuse to fight them, which any and all of the above are all really stupid and terrible ideas, and at at worst are, just people doing things that they feel are right for the wrong, or, doing bad things for reasons that they feel are good, or at other worst are people taking advantage of people who are, gullible enough to twist their own beliefs into a, reason to hurt someone else. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's a little bit of an aside. That's the thing though about Joshua, the way that you were describing how some people think of a God is, I don't think that for those people, at least in my opinion, people who take it as so and so has said that this is the thing to do, and therefore that is the absolute good. I don't think of that as an absolute good. I think of that as a giving up on trying to figure out the answer to the question and just doing what someone else tells you to.
Yeah.
They can have really good input. Like the vast majority of any world religion I've ever learned about really has some amazing things to say and lots of good advice on how to be a good person and do good things. And, starting at any one of them could push you towards some absolute good. But just stopping and just doing whatever anyone tells you is not actually doing absolute good. It's just giving up on trying to answer the question. That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I see where you're coming from. And I appreciate hearing your input on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys had some very good thoughts.
Thank you.
Do you have any that you want to add?
I would like to apologize to Christians.
Oh gosh. I don't even know how to respond to that. But I did think of a new fun fact for you, Andrew. Since we were talking about like America-centric things, is that you participated in a Black Lives Matter rally.
See,
multiple ones.
I feel like if I said that as like a fun fact about me, I mean, besides wearing like political statement t-shirts, which I am now and do often, it would be like, yelling out, "Hey, look at me, I'm a liberal." Or if I was with a bunch of liberal people, it would just be like, "Oh, yeah, so did we."
Okay.
It's a fun fact in Amarillo. In Amarillo, Texas, it's a fun fact.
It's also, going back to the normalization of topics thing, it's like talking about antidepressants. It's, one of those topics that you have, a little more about and can just normalize instead of people getting their information from one, polarized
Fox News
source or another.
Yeah. Or CNN. CNN's just as bad.
Wow, you're just going for the throat.
Who can we offend
single
today?
group.
Let's just take an episode and just offend as many people as possible.
Oh, great. Well, I think this is an appropriate time as ever to roll the credits.
Man,
this podcast.
Who like this last question doesn't apply to? Gingers, because they don't even have souls.
Yeah.
So like
they might as well just die right now.
Okay, so like the two people out there who are listening to this who do not know all three of us, Noah is a ginger. I guess you could also tell that by looking at the podcast logo. But anyway, this podcast is created by the three of us, written by none of us, and edited and produced by me, Joshua. However, some statements in this program were not endorsed by Joshua. Hopefully, it's also listened to and enjoyed by you, but no pressure, hey? So join us next time as we unravel more of the world's big questions, or maybe just get tangled up in them. We'll see how things go when we get there. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or ideas on how we could make this podcast better, send us a message at littlemiddlebigle@outlook.com. And don't forget to visit joshuabegs.com. I'm waiting for you, Andrew.
New original creative writing every Thursday.
Every other
Thank
Thursday.
you, hype man. Yeah, close enough. Love, thanks, and T-Rex X from all of us. What do I know?
Dad's, how Dad's been saying I should run for Supreme Court or whatever.
I feel like there are a few steps that have to happen before that, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, apparently you can just walk into the Capitol whenever you want now.
Some statements in this podcast were not endorsed by Joshua
New
Banks.
original creative writing every Thursday. However, if anyone finds this podcast when they're like interviewing me for the Supreme Court, I will not get that seat.
You know, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this is a minor question for another episode, but there have definitely been some times when I was like, you know, I can't run for office now.
Yep.
Like, just moments throughout the past, like, 6 years or so.
Yep.
Yeah, I think when we did the strangest places you've ever peed with Dad, that's kind of where my future political career went down the tank.
Where was the weirdest place I ever peed? I don't even remember. I think I remember. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
We couldn't have done this without you. Say bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
What a ramble fest.